Good morning. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET Now, the show where we get you a crisp and comprehensive wrap of all the big movers and shakers today in trade. For now, let's just take a quick look at the markets. And we seem to have ebbed off quite a bit from the record highs that we touched in the previous trading session. Now at 11,754, so it's a 32-point drop witnessed from those record highs. The Sensex is clocking in losses of approximately 94 points. But it's the broader markets today that's yet again underperforming the benchmarks, with a more than 1% cut coming in for the small cap index. The breadth of the market is for now just about at 1:1. Actually there are very few gainers as opposed to losers on the Nifty 50. We just have approximately 10 odd stocks that are losing. So the favor is the breadth as well is in favor of the losers. Well, like we said, this is the show where we highlight all the big movers and shakers and individual buzzing stocks. So let's just get to that first by introducing our guests who are going to be joining in on the show. We have with us Soumya Sharma, and on the technicals we're joined by Kunal Bothra, and today we'll be having Abhijit Pathak of Defined Edge Solutions. Good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining in. But before we do that, first an update on the first stock that we want to flag off, and that is Jet Airways yet again. It's headed for a crash landing in today's trade. Look at the way the stock has dropped. More than a 27% decline. This after lenders have refused to refuel the cash-starved carrier with emergency funds. And this is something that has forced the company to go into a temporary shutdown. In fact, the Jet staff is going to be meeting the management as well today. Utkarsh Chaturvedi is with us. Utkarsh, walk us through the proceedings of what happened.
So in fact it was yesterday at around 3 o'clock that we got the first hint of the fact that the operations can be suspended. It was around 5:20 that we told our viewers, exactly an hour or an hour and a half ago, that the operations will be suspended. 10:30 was the last flight. Now the reasons behind the decision everybody knows, that they didn't have the Jet Airways, that as we speak didn't have any kind of money left really. The lenders really wanted to play with 3 or 4 aircraft. That is something which the board didn't want to. The board had written to the SBI chairman asking for 400 crore rupees, and then 10:30 was the last flight before the temporary closure. Now 2 or 3 things remain. Now what's happening right now? I am inside the Jet Airways office. In fact, I'll ask my cameraman to really pan around, and you will see the kind of chaos it is. There are a lot of cameras at this point of time. The union leader for ground staff and the NCP MLC Kiran Pavaskar has already started meeting the management. But the question is there any way out? What will happen in the meeting? Given the fact that Jet at this point of time does not have enough money to really pay these salaries, the point of these meetings, the point of this protest at this point of time are more a symbolism, because if you look at till the time the lenders will not put in money, there's nothing happening now. 2 very important questions here, Mubina. First one, is there any hope left? The lenders are saying that the bidding process is on, but at a point of time when there are no planes left, when there is no fuel left, the employees have not been paid, the slots have gone, what will happen in the bidding process? And even if this airline goes to NCLT, and an airline with really no aircraft, with no slots left, no international parking spaces left, will it have any value whatsoever in the NCLT as well? So clearly what's happening right now is more of the protest and the meetings by the management, telling the staff what has happened. But till the time there's no money, there's nothing happening. Last question, a very important: what will happen to the ticket refund? Does Jet Airways have the money to refund all those tickets as well?
That is well a pertinent point to ask really, but for now it's in a limbo, the future of Jet Airways, with SBI and team and the consortium essentially denying funding, at least for now, to refuel the airline of the cash that it so desperately needs, and hence Jet is now officially out of the skies. Temporarily for now. Let's see how conversations pan out between lenders, between various stakeholders and the management of Jet. So that of course has to be the #1 stock we flag off on Market Fatafat. Well, continuing with the countdown then, Kunal, what a move witnessed in TATA Motors, almost a 50% rise in the last 2 odd months. What do you make of this move, and how should one trade in TATA Motors?
So this is of course a very strong, powerful move for TATA Motors, and it's come out of a after nowhere, because the stock was trading sideways for 3 or 4 months, in an extremely volatile fashion. So this month, or the last 2 months of strong price up move on the back of strong volumes indicates that prolonged downtrend for Tata Motors is now definitely over. Now we look at it on the short-term charts. The stock at 235 to 38 range, I believe is poised for maybe some more upside. 250 to 255 is where I would place the targets for Tata Motors on the short term. But as an ideal advice, I would look at more of an investment buy on Tata Motors even at current levels, and if the stock dips as well.
All right, Tata Motors today, after that brief pause on Tuesday's trading session, is once again on the way up. Samya, let's talk about Reliance Industries. I think this is a very important stock. Today we have the numbers that are expected to release, and of course not to mention that very, very interesting report that came out yesterday where Saudi Aramco may actually be interested or maybe looking at a stake in Reliance Petro's business.
Well, very rightly said, Mubina, the stock is in focus today. Firstly, the company is announcing its results today. So on the results front, we expect the weakness in the core business to be offset by strength in the Reliance and Geo and retail, which are actually, growing with every quarter. Apart from that, the refinery shutdown will be impacting this quarter's performance, while the petrochemical margins could see softness on lower pricing. GRMs are seen at $9 per barrel, and this trajectory is likely to improve from FY21 onwards, and monetization of fiber and tar assets to see value accretion. Apart from this, as you suggested, the reports also suggest that Saudi Aramco is eyeing stake in Reliance Industries Petrochem and refinery project and are looking to take approximately 50% stake along with UAE's ADNOC, and this stake sale would help Reliance to deleverage its balance sheet. Apart from this, what the reports are also suggesting is that Reliance Retail is in talks with Hamleys, and this acquisition could give Reliance more weightage and heft in its retail play. So the stock is gaining by over 2.4% and is in focus today.
All right, there you have it. That's the word then coming in on Reliance Industries. Interesting reports that have been floating in for this one, and of course today's the numbers as well. Abhijit, hi, welcome to the show. Let's talk about Indiabulls Housing Finance. Today it made itself the top nifty loser with a more than 3% downtick. What would you make of the charts?
The Indiabulls housing appears like it's a weak chart, and unless it crosses 850, it will remain bearish, and if it goes below 790, 795, it will become more bearish. So right now it is a no trade zone and maybe short-term rise with a stop loss above 850.
Okay, that's a strategy recommended by Abhijit on Indiabulls. Meantime, while Jet Airways is languishing in trade, it's the other names like SpiceJet and Indigo that are having a jolly good time. In fact, SpiceJet is now at a 52-week high at 142 rupees. In fact, just in the last 1 week, it's managed to surge a whopping 53%. So great gains witnessed over here as the airline operator manages, or rather tries, to essentially capture the lost market share by Jet Airways. Remember, it does plan to induct 27 planes in 2 weeks to essentially facilitate that process. So yeah, Jet's loss is Spice's gain. Kunal, why are you flagging off REC in trade?
So the stock is relatively less volatile in terms of the price trends, but more interesting is that in the market like this, which is extremely volatile, we've shaved off 100 points odd on the Nifty from the day's high. REC Limited is showing positive price action, and it's doing that's right since the beginning of trade today. I believe that that's a very strong and positive sign for the stock price near-term trend. Even though the stock has been in a range, but I believe that it's high possibility that the stock may come back to the upper end of the trading range, which is around 156 to 158 levels.
All right, so that's REC as we speak. It's at the day's high. Soumya, how are the numbers for Wipro?
Well, talking about the numbers for Wipro, they were pretty much in line. All the revenue, margins and PAT were in line with the expectations. However, the guidance was a little weak, wherein the management expects Q1 IT services revenue in range of $2,046 to $2,087 million US. This guidance excludes impact of divestment of Workday Cornerstone on-demand business concluded in Q4. So the revenues, IT dollar revenues, were up by 1.4% on a sequential basis. Apart from this, the company approved the buyback of 32.3 crore of shares at the price of 325 per share. Well, the total buyback would be at around 10,500 crore rupees. Apart from this, the brokerages, talking about UBS, they're maintaining a sell with a target price of 214 per share, saying that FY20 revenue outlook remains soft and buyback would be likely offering some near-term support. Apart from this, Credit Suisse have also also maintained an underperformed stance with a target price of 240 per share, although the stock has been gaining by over 2%.
Okay, that's Wipro, 2% higher. I think it's the buyback news as well that's keeping the stock active in trade. Moving on to the next stock, and that's M&M Finance. Abhijit, you have a bearish view here. What's the reason?
Yeah, even M&M Finance is a bit bearish, and unless it crosses and closes above 430, it remains bullish, and it is also a short on price and with a stop loss above 430.
Okay, there you have it. That's a word on M&M Finance. It's down by about 0.5%. Watch out for Hindalco. This is a company that we want to flag off on account of the fact that its global peer Alcoa has delivered its first quarter numbers. It's a loss, and it's also missed revenue estimates on the top line. In fact, additionally, they've also flagged off a weaker aluminium demand. Growth forecast for aluminium has been cut by them, in the year forward, and that is something that they have flagged off. But for 2019, they have projected a global aluminium deficit between 1.5 to 1.9 million metric tons. But this deficit has narrowed from last quarter's full year estimates. And that is something that they are flagging off as well. So they have kept their prediction of a surplus for the alumina market and a deficit for the aluminium market, but the deficit will narrow, and that perhaps is also putting pressure on Hindalco, the aluminium major, which is now at 209 rupees. Okay, Kunal, let's talk about the big newsmaker TCS. How would you read into the move seen today?
So even though it's a bit flattish in terms of price moves, but when you look at this in the context of the last 3 days of price action, so after that surprise results, the stock gave a complete U-turn of its downward drift trend. It's broken out of I would say a triangular pattern kind of a resistance around this 2100 mark. So the earlier resistance after a breakout generally becomes a strong support. So I believe TCS should hold on to this level of 2100, and till the time it does it, I believe there could be a strong case of another 4 to 5% upside from current levels.
Right, so that's the view on TCS, 0.2% higher. Well, we'll take a very short break right here on the show, but do come right back. We'll continue with the countdown on Market Fatafat. Alright, welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET. Now let's continue with the countdown of the big movers and shakers. Soumya, what's the news on Max Life?
Well, Mubina, Max Life has been gaining smartly today. This is on back of TOI reports suggesting that Axis Bank is looking to acquire majority stake in Max Life. Well, let me tell you, Axis Bank accounts for more than half of Max Life's business and is only large bank without an insurance arm. So these deal talks come 2 years after regulators spiked Max Life merger plans. So this deal would depend on how RBI and IRDI will view this proposed transaction. The stock is gaining smartly on back of this news flow.
Okay, there you have it. That's the news coming in then on Max Life. It's down a little at this point of time. Abhijit, Motherson Sumi, we did see quite a bounce come back in the previous trading session, but today as well, while it started off on a strong note, it's given up most of those gains. What would be your strategy here?
Motherson Sumi has bottomed out for the mid-term. In fact, it's a very good chart, and any big dip is a buy. For the short term, the stop loss can be 140. It should be active on every dip and go towards 200 mid-term.
Alright, that's the verdict coming in on a Motherson Sumi. Meantime, Deepak Fertilizers extending its gains for the second trading session. Remember, we reported earlier that the company has commenced production at its nitric acid complex in Dahej, and today it's for the second straight day on the trot that we are seeing smart gains come in for the fertilizer company. It's higher by more than 3% in trade. So that's Deepak Fertilizer. So Amya, let's talk about earnings then, and what were the numbers for CRISIL like?
Okay, so for CRISIL, consolidated PAT was down by 5%, while the consolidated revenues were down by 1%. Well, the research business continued to drag the company's revenues. The consolidated EBITDA was, however, down by over 6%, and the margins also saw contraction from 28.9% to 27.5%. Apart from this, the board has approved the transfer of ratings business into a 100% subsidiary, and the stock is reacting to the news flow and is down by over 5%, 4.7% to be precise.
All right, so yes, it's down by 4.7%, reacting to those muted set of numbers. And of course, the big newsmaker for today is Just Dial. Reports have suggested that there's a data breach at Just Dial which has leaked 100 million user details. Now, we at ET Now had the very first interaction from the management to get in his reaction on what exactly Just Dial is doing to address these rumors. Now, they are saying that they are denying that there was any data breach on their platform. All the data on their platform, in fact, is secure and protected. The current version of the app is completely secure. They've implemented adequate encryption for older APIs which were impacted, and they do believe that the entire issue is there's a mountain being made out of a molehill for the entire issue. So this is, of course, Just Dial. The stock price is lower by 3.5%. Remember, we at ET Now got you the first and exclusive reaction on this all-important news about data breach. Abhijit, let's talk about Pedialyte Industries. You have a buy on dips here. What are you observing that's making you optimistic on this one?
Yeah, Pedialyte is a good chart and it is definitely bullish. May not be right now because the stop loss is a bit far away. It's below 11.8. Any dip, right now Pedialyte is almost how much? 12.70. So stop loss will be a bit far off. But any dip towards 12.20, 12.50 can be used to buy with the stop loss to 11.8.
All right. Pedialyte is down by 1.6%. Kunal, TVS Motors, another auto stock you're flagging off. What are you observing here?
So again, as we were discussing since last so many weeks at how this process of mean reversion is playing out in a lot of the stocks, very stocks from their 52-week lows or swing lows, they tend to move back to their long-term averages. I think TVS Motor is also similar case in point. In the process of doing that, it's formed a double bottom pattern in technical terms, which is a bullish pattern. 508 is a breakout of the pattern. It's trading, I think, 10 rupees higher from those levels. So I believe TVS Motors holds on to this 508 mark. It should come back to those critical means, the 200 moving average. So maybe a rise of another 25 rupees from current levels. So a risk reward of 1:2 from current levels for anyone who's looking to initiate fresh longs.
All right, there you have it. That's a strategy on TVS Motors. But just as we speak, for the last, in the last couple of minutes, the stock has actually taken quite a hit, and it's in fact at the day's low. All right, moving on to the next stock. Soumya, Saskin Tech, what's the news over here?
Well, Saskin Tech is considering a share buyback in its upcoming board meeting on April 23rd. In fact, the stock has been gaining for the past 4 days, and even today the stock is up by over 8.2%, supported by robust traded volumes.
Okay, well, it's not a report-based news. It's actually been delivered on the exchanges by Saskin. They are officially going to consider a share buyback on the 23rd of April. This is confirmed news, and it's 8% higher on the back of that. Abhijit, Bharti Airtel, you have a bullish stance here. It's a 3% fall witnessed today. What is causing you to be optimistic on this one?
Yes, Bharati has a very good support near 320, 325, so it can be used as a top-up and to buy on any. On the higher side, it has a very big resistance at 360, 362, which is the 200 weekly level. So any buying on dip can be.
So the bullish stance for Bharti Airtel currently at 338. Kunal, some of these gas stocks have certainly been very active in trade off late. What are you observing in IGL?
So IGL is now very close to hitting a 52-week high, or rather swing high on a multi-month basis. I think the stock has been trading pretty well. If I'm not wrong, this is the 5th or the 6th straight week of price gains you're seeing for IGL. So stock in steady uptrend, cruising at steady pace, even at current levels, and also on the verge of a swing breakout in that regard. I think all of those ingredients are quite positive for a stock like IGL. I would recommend that as a buy for a near-term target of 335 to 340 range.
Okay, that's IGL. It's at the day's high. What a bounce witnessed from the day's low. Meantime, Ashoka Bilcon is something as well we are flagging off on the back of an order win. It's a 443 crore rupee contract that it has managed to back from RVNL. The stock price had started off on a positive note. The early part of the trading session still is gaining about 1%, but definitely off the day's high. Soumya, we continue to flag off more aviation names. How is Indigo capturing on the entire lost market share by Jet?
Well, the stock is gaining for the 7th straight session, but surely Jet's loss is other airlines' gain, including Indigo. What we're gathering from the agency is that the airline will be flying 10 more flights from Mumbai effective from May 5 and 8 more flights from Delhi effective from May 10. And that's what's keeping the stock in focus today.
Okay, well, we're out of time then with that on this edition of Market Fatafat. Abhijit, thanks so much for joining in with your technical strategies. Kunal and Soumya to you as well. We'll wrap it up. Coming up next is Markets at Noon. India.